The Solo Show is brought to you by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Coming up on The Solo Show.
When does the book come and where can you get it?
So it comes out on October 1st, which for Disney fans, yes, that is intentional.
I know. That's the date that the very first Solo Show came out, was October 1st.
Exactly. October 1st.
It's our live-in guest host, Cody Havard, up next. Geez, he must really like the M&Ms in the green room. That's up next on The Solo Show.
Hello, I'm Realtor Victor Naraki, and at one time I had created a search for you online for homes near Disney World. I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to my brand new website. Same name, new functionality, celebratingflorida.com. If you're still looking for property near Disney World, please take a look at the website. If it's a future wish, visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com for all my social media links. Thank you, and hopefully we will talk soon.
Broadcasting from the Solo Studios, located in a pawn shop on a corner in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now there's an Easter egg for you. Post a comment if you know what's next. Here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in the center of North America, on this little planet we call Earth, this is The Solo Show. This time we're rolling out the futon for our live-in guest host. From the Being a Fan of Disney podcast, it's Cody Havard. Seriously, the only guy who's been on the show more times is me, Ken the voiceover guy. Cody is here to talk about his new novel, The Perspectives Files, coming soon to your Kindle. Stan asks the important questions of an up-and-coming author, so get your passport to Funtown ready. And now, please welcome your host, the man who they're already writing songs about. Stick around till the end to find the answer to this clue. Here's Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always, and I have got a very special announcement to make. I am super excited about this. We've been talking about this kind of off and on for the past few months here on The Solo Show. He's been on Match Game. He's been in and out of the Solo Studios so many times, he's starting to feel like a yo-yo. I want to welcome back to the show, Cody Havard. How are you today, my friend?
Good, Stan. How are you? It's nice to be back. Thanks.
Absolutely. So let's go right to the chase. Cody has a new book coming out. This is like your third or your second book, or how many have you had now?
Second. That's not like academic. I have a few academic that are more like textbooks or straight research that probably not a lot of people have read, I'm guessing.
All right, so those ones aren't available on Amazon, but
they are. If you want to get them, you can get them. But they're research books. We'll just call them that.
All right. Okay. So if you want to dive deep into the mind of Cody, you can buy his research books as well. But I am so honored. This is like the biggest honor I have ever had in my entire life. I can't believe it that he's naming the book the Stan Solo Show, the book. This is unbelievable.
Well,
what made you come up with that idea?
Well, I told you when I was on here for the last book, I wrote the book so I could be on the show. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, so it's going to be available, all over the world. I'm publishing Stan Solo, the Solo Show, the book. No, it's not Stan Solo. It's just the Solo Show, the book. Right.
Right.
Am I right, or is it a different name?
It is slightly different. I had to make a change at the end, I guess.
Oh, so it's just called Stan Solo, the book.
Yeah, Stan Solo, the book.
Solo
there
Show.
you go.
Yeah. There we go. No, we're talking the Perspectives Files with an S at the end of Perspectives. I keep getting that mix. I keep calling it Perspective instead of Perspectives.
Yeah,
correct?
It's the Perspectives Files, and it's a play on, like the old 90s, might have gone into the 2000s, X-Files, where like it can be, the X-Files was great because it could focus, it had kind of a general theme, but it could focus on a lot of different things. That's what I'm trying to do with the Perspectives Files. It's also the website that I have that I have like the research findings and everything on is actually called sharedperspectives.org. So that's why it's called the Perspectives Files as well. Also, once people read, they'll realize the name of the organization that everybody is a member of sounds pretty familiar when you visit sharedperspectives.org. So
Okay. Very cool. You sure you're going with that name, right? You're not gonna call it the Solo Show, the book?
At this point, the book releases in when this comes out, the book releases in a few days, so it's kind of too late in the game to make major changes like that.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. I guess so. That's fair. What made you decide to write a book? I made a decision to make a podcast. You made a decision to make a podcast. What made you decide to write a book? You already got the podcast.
So the podcast we talked about came from the class. And then one thing that I am a professor of sport and entertainment management. And so one thing that I've been extremely lucky to do is in my career, it's a lot of my responsibilities at my university job are research and writing and doing things like this. And for a long time, I've been collecting research on group behavior. So basically, why do people choose to treat somebody a certain way based on whatever group they're a member of? If that's, favorite sports team, if it's because they like Coke versus Pepsi or Apple versus Samsung, like whatever it is, whatever group they think they identify with or see themselves as a member of, what makes them treat people differently based on that. And like we've talked a lot about doing research with Disney fans and everything. And obviously, because of the Disney class and me being a big Disney fan, the first kind of dive into a more creative style, if you will, narrative book was being a fan of Disney, the book. And after that, that I had a lot of fun doing that and getting to tell my story. The next stage really was thinking, hey, how can I take all of this research on group behavior that in the academic world people read outside of the academic world? And what I mean outside of people who, other professors or researchers that are writing and trying to get citations on their papers and everything. Not a lot of people have read those. And I think there's some really good information in there. And I think there's really good information from a lot of things that people do. And so I started thinking about, I'm at a point in my career where I am trying to be more creative with what I'm writing and producing. And so how can I kind of incorporate some of this stuff, this research that I've been doing over the last 14, 15 years into something that maybe more people will read? And so that was kind of the basis for the Perspectives Files. It also was, I was writing it and reading it to my kids every night or every other night. When I started this, there was something called Kindle Vella. It doesn't exist anymore, but basically it was like you write a book chapter or a short story and you would put it on this website and people could, sign up and they could read it. And if you in order to keep people coming back, you had to write in these episodic segments. And so obviously to keep people coming back, everybody knows watching shows and all of that, cliffhangers are what does it. And so, I started writing all of these chapters and they would have cliffhangers at the end. And my boys really, really liked it where, they would be asking questions and they would be wanting to know what was happening next. So that was really, really fun for me and added to my creativity. And then after Kindle Vella kind of went away, that's when I sat down and I said, okay, I have this many stories or this many chapters. Let's go ahead and finish that. Because at the beginning, this was what's interesting is a lot of people will sit down and they have kind of this idea of here's how it's going to end and I'm going to write the story. I didn't know how it was going to end. There were a lot of things that I had to go back afterwards and kind of look for continuity. And change things up for continuity purposes. And, a few things that I wrote in earlier chapters that wasn't really going to fit the story anymore, to be able to go back and do that. So, but long answer, to a short question. That's why I started that's why I started the book, to get more of the kind of research out to the general public in a fun way. There's not, there's not a lot of research is intertwined in there, but this is definitely not like a research book that you would read in school or anything like that. Like, this is a young reader novel.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's not a research book. It's not a university thesis or anything like that. It's a novel. It's a fun novel. Is what it is. And like you said, it's for young readers. But I enjoyed it myself. I didn't finish it. I also have 25 hours of TV to watch every day. So, and I work 9 hours a day on top of that. But yeah, it's definitely a fun read. It really is.
Thank you.
What is the book basically about? Like, who are the characters? Where are we? Can you introduce us to something in the book?
Yeah. So there are two main characters, Elliot Clark and then Jules Sulatan. And we could talk about her last name in just a little bit if you like. They are high school students. And they find out through a series of events that they are being recruited and become members of this secret society that has existed throughout history. And the reason they exist is to monitor the actions and the decisions of others. And basically what the main goal is that this organization, I'll just go ahead and say it's called Shared Perspectives. This organization that they are being recruited to by a man named Dane, they exist to learn from decisions that people make. And then, so there's a lot of conversation amongst the teenagers about like, well, if we know something's going to happen, how does it, do we step in? Do we not step in? There are situations basically where this organization can say, their agents can show people different outcomes. But basically once a decision is made, then you can't really change the outcome without changing a whole bunch of other things, a la Back to the Future. There's a lot of references to Back to the Future in it, butterfly effect, all of those type things. And then ultimately how the story goes is they meet a cast of characters within this organization. And then, as you can imagine in books such as this, things don't go as planned. And so by the end of the book, Jules and Elliot find themselves on a pretty different mission than they thought they were on when they started their adventure. So
yeah, and there's a lot of time travel as well in this, but it's not complicated time travel. Like, it's easy enough to follow. And so an example would be they have to go back and make sure that a reporter doesn't forget his pen when he's going to this important event, because if he does forget his pen, that could alter history.
Yeah, and that reporter turned out to be he was at the meeting where Steve Jobs was introducing Apple computer. And so, it's things like that. Like the reporter, if they don't have their pen to make their notes, they can't write the story. Therefore, maybe the world doesn't learn about Apple the way that it was intended to learn about Apple. And there's a lot of other examples of like fun things when I was getting into more of the time travel. And when I kind of realized, hey, here's what this book is going to be about later in the game, I started throwing in fun tidbits like that. Like there are Easter eggs all over the place. Like one of the teenagers, one of the agents has to remind a worker at Sears and Roebuck they have to change the fact that somebody at Sears and Roebuck they change a number that they put in an advertisement for a newspaper, which basically is the start of, people in the United States know, the start of Santa Tracker for NORAD. And these small things that kind of lead to like much larger events that people would recognize now. They have to go back and change several of these things. Like they have to make sure a person who is attending the game where Roger Maris breaks the home run record, although Roger Maris isn't mentioned, but they have to make sure the correct person gets the baseball, like catches the baseball, so that it doesn't change the future of events and things like that. And the the final kind of adventure takes place in somewhere that I think a lot of Disney fans really identify with pretty strongly. They have to travel to the 1964 New York World's Fair for their kind of final adventure, and that's where a lot of the culminating events take place.
Now, are all these events that they go back in history for, are they all factual? Are they all actual events? For example, the Sears and Roebuck phone number being misprinted. Is that how it actually happened? Or did you take liberties?
I was as historically accurate as possible with several things, as much as I could be. However, there are stories that exist that I went off of. So the story for Santa Tracker at NORAD is it was a newspaper that misprinted a phone number, and they actually accidentally, like by one digit, put in and they put this ad. I think it was in a Sears and Roebuck ad. They put the wrong number by one digit, and they actually ended up putting the number for NORAD, which in the United States is it's like one of the highest security military bases in the United States. And so these kids were calling the actual NORAD, asking where Santa was. And so they started to have fun with it. And now, I mean, if you have kids now, they have on their website year round, they have santatracker.com or .org that you can track what he's doing right now, and you can see how they're building the toys in the North Pole now, and December 24th you can follow his kind of trip around the world, and it all started from that. So yeah, they were as historically accurate as possible, and especially with the stuff with Disney, I tried to be as accurate as possible with Disney, and I had a lot of help from. There's a great podcast. I don't know if everybody has heard of it, that I've started listening to more recently. It's called Distory with Kate and Kirk, and they do these massive deep dives into attractions. So right now they're on like a 17 episode deep dive into the Tower of Terror, and I think they have at least 10 more episodes to go or whatever. And so these two people, they're amazing in their attention to historical detail. And so Kate in particular, and she plays a character in the book much like yourself, she is a Disney historian that I actually had her read the chapters about specific to Disney to make sure that they were as accurate as possible. And so there's one chapter where they have to travel to 1962 Disneyland to do something. And I wanted her to read that to make sure where the control room would be in Town Square, and what was going on with the trains at that time, because they could be slightly different from how they are now. And so I definitely did try to be as historically accurate as possible. And there actually are a few chapters in there that a chapter focuses on a specific event. And so at the end of those chapters, for people that are interested, I say, look, if you're interested in this, like, for example, there's a meeting at the 1960 Rome Olympics between a United States and a USSR athlete. And that's based on factual events. What I tell in the story is fictionalized, or I've taken liberties with that. But that actually is something that happened, where the United States and USSR were trying to get athletes to kind of join their side, defect from their countries during the 1960 Rome Olympics. And so at the end of that chapter, I put kind of a note: if you're interested in this, if you want more reading on this, here's where you can go get stuff like that. And there are a few that are like that, like with the Hatfields and McCoys and things like that. So I did try to be as accurate as possible with these events.
It's very cool.
While taking liberties, of course.
You mentioned how Katie is one of the characters in the book. I'm one of the characters in the book. Who are some of the other people that people might know or are characters in the book? So
people that they're all people I've met through being a fan of Disney, the podcast. And I credit starting that podcast with that kind of was a change in my career trajectory, and going off in this kind of more creative path than the strict data collection and write up and things like that I used to do. And I still do that, but there's more the creative aspects now. So they're all people that I've met through the podcast. There's a character named Ryan B, who's it's Ryan Beckman, and he is co-host of the Disney, My Disney Classroom podcast. There's another character, and it gets a little confusing at times because there's a character named Ryan P. So I had to go back and make sure that, I'm telling that story correctly. That's based on a real person named Ryan Pagella, who's been on my podcast a few times, and he has like the Mutant Ages and several projects that he does. There's a character named Ron who is based on, a lot of Disney fans will know, he's based on Ron Schneider, who was the original walk around dream finder at Epcot Center. There's a character named Carissa, and she's based on Dr. Carissa Baker at the University of Central Florida, who she studies theme parks, and she actually is the coordinator of their major on theme parks at Central Florida. So it's a lot of fun to be able to incorporate characters from the show, and to then give them kind of ownership over, real portions of the story and important portions of the story. And everybody should know that Stan, he's kind of the Q character from 007 in the prospectus file. So he's basically the one who supplies all of the equipment, and what people need. And for Stan, I incorporated the fact that Stan loves to design shirts and design clothing. So that started out as a major portion of the chapter I wrote about Stan. And then it went from there to incorporate that into now the clothes are what cause or what help the agents sort of blend into their settings and their surroundings, and the fun things that they're able to do. And Stan, I don't know if you have read this chapter or not, but there actually is even a nod to you doing the torch relay for the Olympics in the book.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm going to read that.
One of the later chapters, there is a mention of you practicing for the Olympic relay. So
that's very cool. For people that don't know, I was an Olympic torchbearer in 2010 for the Vancouver Olympics. And that, along with being a character in Cody's book, are probably my two favorite, greatest honors ever. Carrying the Olympic torch is like one of the things that I dreamt about since the 1988 Olympics in Calgary.
He didn't just carry the torch. He lit the cauldron.
Yes. No, actually, I handed it off to Wayne Gretzky, and he did that.
Yeah.
You mentioned this book is for young adults. There's a lot of Disney in it, so I think Disney fans are going to love this book. Who is this book for?
I call it a young adult reader, which a lot of that comes from, again, being a fan of Disney, the podcast and the class. I was, interviewing people who wrote stories about young adults, and one of a series of books that is very, very influential to me is The Kingdom Keepers, which is written by Ridley Pearson. I think a lot of Disney fans know. I actually think of The Kingdom Keepers as like Disney's version of Harry Potter, because you have these kids in the first book, and then at the end you grow up with them. And actually, he's just finished his kind of 3-book series follow-up, where those original 6 kids are now adults, and the books are about their kids. And so, that's something that I wanted to try. And so when I was looking at ages of the characters, I was also thinking about my boys and what would be fun for them to read about. And I think a lot of kids my boys' age, they like to read about people that are a little bit older than they are. And so that's how it became that Jules and Elliot were in high school.
Okay.
They weren't out of high school yet. But then at the end of the book, there's actually, there leads into potential future books that incorporate different ages. So what I've tried to do is, if this is something that a lot of kids really enjoy, then I've tried to open it up where I leave myself some leeway to write about, maybe kids that are a few years younger. Like the end credit scene of the book kind of hints at a future direction for Elliot and Jules and what their responsibilities will be. So it's called a young reader book, but for adults, what I would say what that means is it isn't the murder mystery or true crime or detective, that type of material. It also, it was very interesting to write about teenagers and in a way that, you're trying to write about them meeting people and kind of the relationships that they build with people. And so that was kind of an interesting exercise for me, is, how to write about the relationships that they're building with these adults that they're meeting, and the relationships that they're building like with themselves or amongst themselves and with each other and with other people that they meet. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I would say, like, if you're a fan of Back to the Future, this would probably appeal to you. Yeah. James Bond, I think it would appeal to you. Definitely Disney. If you're a fan of the Disney parks, this would appeal to you. Even the hints of Marvel throughout the book, there's little nods to Marvel and whatnot. So honestly, a wide spectrum for sure. You mentioned about the end chapter. Can I save myself a few bucks? Can you just tell me how it ends?
Well, I told you they do have to travel to 1964 New York World's Fair.
Yeah.
And it's something that they have to, what they realize is once somebody makes a decision, the decision can't be changed, right? We said that earlier, mm-hmm. But what they realize is there could be something more nefarious or more intentional going on, that people are trying to change events in order to make future events change.
Yeah.
So it is very much, like you mentioned Back to the Future and things like that. It's also, writing this book was kind of like I feel people use the term love letter a lot to like their childhood, but it kind of was that for me as well, that all of the things that I watched or read or loved watching, loved consuming as a kid, somehow they found their way into this book.
Yeah.
So, those crazy adventures of teenagers or kids, like going on an adventure and having to find out what they were doing. Like, those were the movies that I grew up on. I grew up on Goonies and I grew up on E.T. and things like that. Like to take ownership over what you're able to do when you're at the age where adults possibly won't listen to you, but also being an adult now, being able to see it from the opposite side as well, that, the adults, they want to be listened to as well, so there's kind of the interesting relationship between the adults and the teenagers a lot of the times, that, the teenagers think they know everything, but maybe they don't. And there are times where maybe they do know what they're doing more than adults, but trying to write that, and it just kind of turned into sort of things that I've learned throughout my life, outside of just like the data collection as well.
So you mentioned that this is going to come out shortly after this podcast comes out. When does the book come and where can you get it?
So it comes out on October 1st, which for Disney fans, yes, that is intentional.
I know. That's the date that the very first solo show came out, was October 1st.
Exactly. October 1st, 1971, if anybody remembers that date. So it is intentional that it comes out on October 1st. I'm publishing it through Kindle Direct Publishing. So you can get it on Amazon. You can get it in Kindle version, paperback version, and hardback version now. I am finishing up. I have a few more days to make sure the final manuscript is ready to go and available through Kindle Direct Publishing. So I'm finishing up the editing. Once I'm done with that, I do want to record an audiobook. And I've had a few ideas about that, because as most people can tell from this episode and previous episodes that I've been on, my voice is kind of deep. And so I'm thinking how do I narrate a book where I'm using different voices and I'm using, aside from inner dialogue, I'm not sure I can pull off voices in higher octaves a lot, and
a high school
and so
female,
I'm trying to work through that.
Yeah, a high school female might be hard for you to pull off.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Sharedperspectives.org. What are we finding there?
So that's like I said, that's where the research that I do is. That's where access to Being a Fan of Disney, the podcast, is. Being a Fan of Disney, the book. I am about to start the process of also putting the perspectives files on there. On there, when it is ready after October 1st, you can find a running list of Easter eggs that I have in the book. For instance, every SP agent, well, that's what we call shared perspective, is just SP. Every SP agent has a call letter, SP, and then 4 digits. So that's all spelled out kind of in these Easter eggs, and so people know Stan's code is SP0119. And Stan, do you remember why it is 0119?
It was the year that Star Wars came out. No, I'm joking. I know.
So
I know what it was. It was. Do you want me to say, or do you want people?
No, go for it. Yeah.
It was the Uncle Deadly's very first appearance on the Muppet Show.
Yep.
It was January 19th.
Yep, January 19th. And so there's another Ryan P. he's a big fan of Marvel. So his call letters are SP0181 because the first appearance of Wolverine was in the Incredible Hulk issue 181, and then added a 0 in front of that. So you can find Easter eggs on there, and you can find kind of explanations of things that happen in the book. And then also one really cool thing that I want to do, and this is something that I mentioned the Kingdom Keepers that have had an influence on me. In speaking with Ridley Pearson one time, he said a lot of his readers would actually send emails and ask what the characters were up to, between the books. What were they doing? And like, how did their day go, or how's school going for them? And so I decided to write short stories, and I have one that's written now about the characters either kind of outside of SP or like individual adventures that they go on. You can sort of think like within Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there would be like maybe the special presentations or the what if episodes in the comics, if you want to think of them like that. Mm-hmm. So those will be on there as well when the section for the shared perspectives is ready to go. You'll be able to read these stories, look at the Easter eggs, and then, follow links to purchase the book if you want to purchase the book as well.
Yeah. And Cody already sent me the list of the Easter eggs, and they're interesting to read because you read them and you go, oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. I can see that. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, the hidden Easter eggs.
Yeah. Thank you. Easter eggs have always been something that I love. I love trying to find Easter eggs. And so when I was writing this, I started to add them in. So, one, I'll tell you one, because I mentioned it earlier. Jules' last name is pronounced Sulatan. But it's spelled like Nautilus backwards. Because as a kid, one of my very favorite stories was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So that's kind of a nod to her first name, a nod to Jules Verne, but then her last name being a nod to the Nautilus, which, so things like that you can find on sharedperspectives.org.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Cody.
Yeah, thank you.
Any final thoughts, comments? Where can people find you? Other than sharedperspectives.org, of course. You
can find me on Threads and Facebook now. Facebook, I think, is just Cody Havard. On Threads, I think it's Cody.Havard now. That's the same as Instagram. And anyone who gets the book, who buys the book and reads it, please reach out and let me know what you think. Reach out over social media. If you want to email me, you can. My email is my last name, Havard22@yahoo.com. My basketball number was 22. So we're talking about Easter eggs, if that helps anybody remember. So HAVARD 22 solo@yahoo.com. You can send me messages there, and let me know what you think. And if anybody is a fan of the Solo Show, which I'm guessing if you're listening to the show, you probably are. Let me know what you think of Stan's story, and let me know, if what you think of the potential future directions for Stan's character. Because one fun thing that I have found over the last 7-8 years of kind of becoming like going down this creative path is fan fiction. You're able to kind of write in your friends and write in stories about them and everything. So I have plans for a lot of future stories, but also, if anybody wants to know more about what Stan is doing, or you're interested in his future trajectory for the character, let me know, and we can, I'll be sure to kind of address that and add that into future stories as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And if you can't find Cody in any of those social media links, just check the Solo Show green room. Chances are he's sitting in there waiting to come on again.
Yeah. I just hang out in there, and I actually every so often will write a book for the sole purpose of being on the Solo Show. So yeah, you could just find me in there anytime.
Yeah, exactly. All righty, Ken, do me a favor. Take us away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us about your idea for a show and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. Don't forget to join us on YouTube, like us and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll never miss a new show. All logos, songs, music, and sounds that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be owned by the Solo Show podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.
Lightsabers clash in a cosmic fight. Marvel's web sling through the night. Kermit's banjo strums a sweet refrain, bringing smiles through joy and pain. Here's the Solo Show, let's dive in deep. Star Wars dreams and secrets to keep. Marvel heroes, the Muppets too. A world of wonder just for you. The force is strong, the laughs are real. Spinning tales that'll make you feel. From a Wookiee's roar to a hero's might, this podcast shines like a beacon bright. Miss Piggy's sass and Iron Man's flair, a Jedi's wisdom beyond compare. Through the airwaves the stories flow. Here's to the magic of the Solo Show. Here's the Solo Show, let's dive in deep. Star Wars dreams and secrets to keep. Marvel heroes, the Muppets too. A world of wonder just for you. Here's the Solo Show, let's dive in deep. Star Wars dreams and secrets to keep. Marvel heroes, the Muppets too. A world of wonder just for you.